It's almost hard to believe that March is already here. Christmas feels like yesterday, and where did the time go? I think that these two previous months have just so rapidly disappeared, and this is also why it's so important to have moments where we take stock of where we are and what we are going to do next. On my Instagram, I just did a video around doing a tarot spread for yourself, looking at the opportunities, looking at the inner work, and looking at the actions that you can take for your month ahead. In this video, though, I will be pulling some cards on the energetic forecast of March, looking at perhaps what might be coming up. If you didn't know already, my name is Tor. I am an intuitive guide and tarot reader. I offer people one-to-one tarot readings. I offer one-to-one energy healing, both in person, at a distance. I also have a private client circle where I invite people into my etheric circle where I work with them on a etheric energetic level, and you can learn more about that on my website if that's something that you might be interested in. You can inquire. It is a very small group, so if it's not a good fit. It's not a good fit, but for some people, it will be. For those of you who are looking for extra energetic support. So let's look at what the tarot has to say about the month of March. Um, I think that obviously worldwide it has been an incredibly interesting time. In my personal life, a few of my planets are currently in a retrograde, and I have definitely been feeling that retrograde, and I can also feel that I am beginning to slowly come out of it, which is interesting. So it'll be fascinating to see how that sort of energy unfolds for the rest of the year. But let's look at what the collective has to say about our energy for the month ahead. What are we kind of transitioning through? What is the inner work that we need to explore, and what might be coming up? Okay. So the three cards that I have pulled for the collective is the Queen of Chalices. As you can see on my deck, this is a queen with a child on her lap. The second card that I have pulled is the Page of Cups reversed. It's interesting that we've got two cups card there, one upright and one reversed. That clearly means that there is some sort of perhaps tension in those two cards. And then we've also got the Ace of Wands reversed. And it's interesting on my card, there's like a bull who's like, to me at least, it looks like he's smiling, which I think is kind of cute. Obviously, only take what resonates and leave the rest. I hope that the aim of these messages really is to give you the encouragement and empowerment to take charge and responsibility of your life and just be aware of what might be showing up, and then thinking about how you can approach that in the best possible way. I think actually it's very fitting that we have the Queen of Cups right here, thinking about that we have just also stepped into Pisces season, right? That's where we are right now. We're also in a Mercury retrograde during this time. And, I think that the Queen of Cups, in my experience with this card, she is like the nurturing, loving matriarch within the deck, incredibly compassionate and empathetic and kind and understanding. Sometimes probably a bit too much. But I do think that, with the Queen of Cups showing up upright, this month certainly is about allowing yourself to feel and explore your feelings and explore perhaps where they might guide you. What's interesting, there's no coins here, there's no swords here, which means that this is truly a month to allow your feelings to guide you. Like, what is that feeling from your soul trying to guide you towards exploring and experiencing? I think also, the Queen of Cups, she is sort of saying, if you are in a relationship, it's about trying to perhaps, just go for that dinner, have that good time with your partner without necessarily expecting anything from it. If you're somebody who's going dating, it's something about just allowing yourself to feel and experiment and explore without necessarily thinking that it is going to have a specific outcome. And so I think that the Queen of Cups, she's just somebody she's like the loving hostess, right? And so I think that if this is something that you can lean in for this month, I think that's probably a good idea. I think though there will perhaps be some situations this month, with the Page of Cups being reversed. It is perhaps the most immature card within the court cards, basically. And what I do think though this month, and coupling that sort of with the Queen of Chalices and the sort of tension between these two cards, right? Because she is obviously very mature, very self-aware, she understands her feelings, she understands how to create an environment that feels very loving and very safe, whilst actually the Page of Cups, especially with it being reversed, I think that there might be some unalignment or imbalance either in your or in somebody else's emotional landscape that you are going to have to sort of face this month. And I think that with the Queen of Chalices being there, it's obviously how can you bring in that energy of the Queen of Chalices cups in how you respond to this reversal of the Page of Cups kind of energy. When it's upright, there's like a spur of emotion, allowing yourself to just invite in new experiences, similar to what I was saying about the Queen of Chalices. But with it being reversed, there is a feeling of immaturity in that. And so I think this is also a month to understand how can you grow from your more immature feelings and then mature them, and then how can you then navigate that as a being. Cups within the tarot deck naturally has a more feminine energy to it, so again, perhaps allowing yourself to lean more into those more feminine character traits this month and not being afraid of doing that, being vulnerable, being open, being sharing. And then the last card that's here with the Ace of Swords, Ace of Wands reversed, right? I think that this month perhaps there will be something there's going to be a challenge, I think, around maybe there's something which is blocking your creativity, blocking your energy to like act and move forward. I actually, again, thinking about that Mercury retrograde kind of energy, I think it's much more an energy of like planning and organizing and structuring, rather than thinking that this is the month to act. I suspect that probably then will come up much more in April, right? So okay, so I think the Ace of Wands there, it is about leaning into that more reflective time, right? To create a blueprint, to understand what is it that you need in this moment to act on that energy of the Ace of Wands rather than to actually act on that energy, right? Does that make sense? I hope so. And so give yourself space this week, especially with that Cups energy also, to just allowing your feelings to guide you towards what it is that you want to build next. I do think that with the Ace of Wands being there, there is something you want to build, there's something you want to start. You haven't really done it yet. And it's also not exactly the right time to do it. This month, like I said, it's all about planning, organizing, sort of putting things together. And then when all of that is ready, you can like really act on that Ace of Wands energy. And that's really exciting. And then we're transitioning into April, into summer, into spring, obviously the other way around. And then that sort of more spring, summery energy comes through, and we can really start moving the ball forward. Thank you so much for listening. And if you found this intuitive guidance useful, I'd love it if you hit that like button, subscribe button. I create lots of content around how to connect more with that esoteric wisdom within us. It is something that exists within all of us, and to sort of feel how the energies are transitioning throughout the month. I call these inner intuitive practices, and this is something that you can also connect with for yourself. I'm currently starting an intuitive practitioner training, and if that's something that you're interested in, you can always get in touch by heading over to my website and sending me an email. And if you want a more personalized reading with me, you can hit up the link in my bio. Thank you so much for listening.